Hello, and welcome to part 2 of The Unity of Austin under Keats. In this episode, we will find out the direction of unity we are on. In modern Austin, Keats is both the mayor and commander of all these mutants who believe in human ideals like mercy. However, he remains conflicted on a point of ideology. Unity is ever the goal of any super mutant who's server under the master. But how best to achieve it? Where do we go now? Where do we go now? Where do we go now? What's done is done, Keats said sorrowfully. The scars on my body are a testament to the history of our unity. But we survived, and Shale is no longer here to ruin our peace. We have had peace since that day, and unity for all. He paused and struck a contemplative pose, still smiling. There are two types of unity, however. Keats grabbed two objects from under the podium and held them aloft in each hand. There is unity through strength, as was taught by Attis and the Master, to different extents. He began. In his left hand, he held a hand grenade for all to see. Don't worry, it's not armed, he told the humans, who laughed a bit. An audible groan of disappointment could be heard from the veterans in the back. It is the ability of the Master, those around us, and to find unity in the knowledge that we can protect ourselves and our neighbors. The Master saw the need to unite every human under his banner through forced mutation, and Attis sought to clench the world in his fist and make it comply. Both sought unity through strength in this manner. Keats lowered his left hand and raised his right hand, on which rested a loaf of bread. However, there is another path. Unity through peace was a lesser focus of the Master, was addressed in everything he did. Whereas we may find unity in fighting alongside one another against those who oppose unity, we may also find unity in living amongst one another, learning unity as a lifestyle than merely as behavior. Just as light, and many of the humans and front row mutants nodded in agreement. And then there's balance, Keats concluded. In balancing unity through both strength and peace may the best option lie, allowing us to recreate the true unity of pre-war statehood. In balance, there may yet be the greatest unity possible, if that is a path we as the citizens of Austin choose. He picked up his notes and grinned more broadly than ever before, waving to a few dozen attendees that stood to give applause. Thank you for letting me give this year's history speech, and think about the future as well. How will you practice unity? I will live unity through strength. +5 war support. Increase your nation's strength value and gives infantry weapon and war support. I will live unity through peace. Increases peace value. Or I will live unity through balance. Unity through strength. And we now have unity through strength. Keats has been seen preaching a new take on Master's old doctrine in recent years. Out of the 3 sides of unity, as he calls it, unity through strength seems to be his current favorite. He preaches that use of force is generally justifiable against those who would use that same force against you at a moment's notice, as proven by previous actions, and it seems to be gaining traction as justification for warmongering by our people. Yay! That's exactly what I want. Now, how do I get my people... Okay, I just need to go down this path to get my people to no longer be as mad. Alright. Okay. The prospect of unity. The unity of Austin is a nation defined by the racial mix between super mutants and humans in a working, stable democracy. At least that's the appeal on paper. The reality is far less secure than the Unity's leadership would like to have you believe. Both internal and external factors are moving fast to ensure we won't see the light of day come our next election. We must move just as fast to convince our populace we can handle these issues. Deadline? I don't recognize you. Or Site-Y. What are you guys? Oh. Well, Site-Y is tiny. And Deadline... Okay, so neither of you actually matter, but I just did not recognize you. Ill-fated Okay. This one has so much tiny lore. like little things of lore that you could miss so easily in so many random nations. Like, that's one of the big things I've noticed. Texas against us. Though the Texan Brotherhood and city-state of Lone Star have long been our allies and friends, they have their own issues facing them. Perhaps not as great as the threats that come against us, but raiders on the outskirts of Lone Star and secessionists in Brotherhood ranks are no small threats and should not be taken lightly. By renewing common dialogue with our allies, we can show we aren't standing idly by while the world moves around us. Yes, that does make sense. That does make a lot of sense. I think we should do that, yes. And most of all, this will allow me to actually have some political power going up. Shale's betrayal. In recent years, there hasn't been any urgency for our economy to do anything other than the bare minimum to continue living normal lives. However, with Shale's resurgence to our west, there is suddenly a genuine threat that our limited military industry ought to be aware of. Hopefully making this threat clear to our citizenry will encourage them to see their jobs actually worth their time. Crusher's dissatisfaction. Crusher, an old veteran and a personal friend of Shale, has long been a minor thorn to her side, but no longer. Now he's a major thorn in her side. However, despite his militaristic rhetoric, he remains a sane superhuman, and at various points even sided with Keats on specific issues. If we can sit him and Keats down together to hammer out some compromises, his influence with our military will help us gain their confidence again. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. I suppose I'll start with this one. One of the Crusher's main issues with Keats is that he spent a lot of time and caps building up Austin as a civilian city, operating under the assumption that Unity will continue to be able to summon former Attis equipment out of thin air whenever it's needed. If we can prove that we still care about making new equipment, Crusher's tone towards us might soften. Shaking hands. Our scientists, though geniuses on par with those of the Brotherhood, who they often collaborate with, haven't had a good problem to solve in a while. If Keats spends a few weeks boosting their budgets and encouraging them as individuals, we can hopefully convince them they're both wanted and necessary aspects of our unity, and that we won't be able to achieve our future without them. We're dealing with this stuff. Good. Things are going well so far. We're just slowly pushing through. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Like with the nation's military industry, our civilian industry has long been plagued by a general spirit of laziness and apathy. Despite this, Keats remains a very popular figure among the construction and manufacturing sections of our Unity's industry. Maybe if he spends a few hours a week visiting various sites and just talking to humans and mutants alike, we'll be able to remedy the problems causing us the most trouble. So Shale's army, I see you're doing some minor wars around. Why you doing that, huh, Shale? Shale? Maybe you could not do that. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be funny if you just sat around and did nothing? Okay. Okay. Just seeing if that, because sometimes those decisions change after completing parts of them, at least in a Equestrian War that happens. Another term. Though political stagnation has been a blight on our unity for most of our recent history, a combination of rising threats and increasing direct involvement by Keats appears to have remedied at least some of the situation. Things are getting more productive and green lines are starting to climb on charts that have long haunted our economists. Our unity has climbed the mountains in the past, yet where we are, and we will do so again. Good. Keep it going. Okay, so now I can't do anything until, Shale does something. Okay, so this path... So this path is if Shale loses randomly. And the other path is if he doesn't, basically. Let me actually start building up some more troops. Okay, so just infantry equipment's the main thing. Makes sense. I'm just thinking of whether I want to go this way first. I don't know which path I want to go first, basically. That is the question. That really is the question, is whether I want to go this path, like if I want to go towards these side of things. Oh, there's also this over here. Oh, I don't want unique economy giving me downsides, though, so... these are some nice effects. Especially if I can get Crusher more on my side. But I don't want to have this right now, really. And then there's also just continuing down here for now to prepare for the war. He's completed the focus, the cure. I see. So to go all the way down that one, I'd need to do this path anyways. I suppose I'll start with this path then. The Department of Mutant Advancements. Actually, I'll read that. This, I'm about to have enough. Actually, I can just cancel that and then do this first. Atis, while being a belligerent warlord, hell-bent on bringing Texas to heel, still remains huge popularity in most of Atis' army remnant factions. One of the Crusher's biggest beefs with Keats is that Keats more often talks about how he disagrees with Atis' policies than how he admires the old mutant's plunk. Maybe if we slip in a few pro-Atis statements in Keats' recent speeches, we can get a word to Crusher's followers that we aren't all that different. And it also gives us some division organization, which is just nice. Department of Mutant Advancements. The super mutants of Austin don't have too many concerns with their lives. Though there's enough food to go around, enough industry to sustain a moderately sized civilian economy, and if things ever go too far south, the Texan Brotherhood is there to bail them out. However, there are two problems plaguing the unity. That of Nightkin mental health, and the inherent super mutant problem of sterility. Solving these two issues has long been a part of Keats' platform, and the time has come to look into that. I might go and do this just to get him on our side more. And also, some more military factories definitely wouldn't hurt at the moment. Crusher has always been hostile towards our more peaceful leanings, even going back to the first days after Austin was taken. However, he's not an insane conqueror like Shale is, and he will listen to reason. Maybe we can sit him and Keats down in a room together. They can hammer out some sort of compromise of a policy or two. Austin's unique economy. Unlike most other neighboring pre-war cities, Austin has been free of raiders and debris for quite some time. However, the fact that most of its population is composed of mutants has led to some mixed responses to ideas like civic duty. Keats has made it part of his campaign to promote regional improvement projects, but it's a slow process, and he knows the voter base can only take on so many projects every year. Fair enough. Alright. Yep. And we're doing the budget military. Though we've had a fairly long stretch of peace, the fact remains things are becoming more turbulent by the day. The Crusher are trying to lead a succession movement in the West, and the Texan situation is deteriorating rapidly. We're going to need more guns to fight for the home we love. True. And the other ones I'm not doing. The good times have lasted for quite some time, but there are storm clouds on the horizon. If we're gonna last longer than just another day, we need to start planning for the long term by increasing our construction capabilities. And new roads was one of the big points of the latest election, and even Keats won it, but with a landslide victory. That doesn't change the fact that our roads are fairly old. Figuring out how to repair old routes should be our top priority. Nah. That sounds lame. Come on, Keats. Keats is our main man. Woo! I do need you to win for me to actually go down my main focus tree. I at least need you to go to War of Eden. And at that point, you can lose or win, but like I do need you to win that opening stuff for me to actually be able to continue. Oh, they're going through their thing. Whoa. Sure. That's quite expensive, but I suppose I'll do it. There we go. And yeah, they're in our faction, but we can't join their wars. And, they're getting beat up. I love it because we can't even, like I was playing as Texan Brotherhoods, and I was like, can I, like, at least send divisions to them to help? And no. Because you're in the same faction, you can't help them even by sending divisions. So, like, straight up, Caesar's Legion would have an easier time supporting Lone Star than the Texan Brotherhood. Which I get the reason for it, I really do. But it does feel a little weird. I do want to go and start doing this just because, well, I want to know what it does. For most of our history, Austin has only really had one major power plant. It functions perfectly fine, and we've been able to restore it to pre-war standards after Scarlet helped us clear it of the infesting mutant plants. But the fact remains we need more power if we continue to advance as a society. Well, better to start sooner rather than later. True. Very much true. There we go. The Hallows Eve story time. Halloween was a popular pre-war holiday, and Keats had taken to celebrating it yearly with a series of public story readings of some of the most exaggerated and terrifying stories the city's merchants could gather from the wastes. Some stories were mere summaries of old world literature, but most tended to have a grain of truth in them, telling haunting tales of uncanny wasteland out to eat humans and mutants alike. Keats' tales of an uncaring wasteland out to eat humans and mutants alike. Keats stepped up to the stage with a copy of Tales of Tunderlitters, and a host of families and well-wishers applauded. "Good evening, citizens of Austin." Keats spoke into the microphone. "We have a tradition borrowed from our forefathers. Halloween was once seen as a night of greed and joy, where children were given free treats for giving inspiring performances in intimidation and terror. While we are still unsure of why this tradition existed, it was supposedly a highlight of many children's years. In Austin, however, we have a different tradition. Once per year, submissions of some of the most haunting stories in the wasteland are sent to my office, and I read through them to find the most terrifying one to read to you tonight. Of the stories in question, a journal titled Tales of Tunnelers strikes me as the strangest story I received, and tonight I would like to read it to you." Keats opened the first page of the short journal and started reading. Over the span of an hour, he inspired and terrified his listeners with a story claiming to witness a new type of mutant, one that burrows under the ground and surfaces to drag your children away in the night. That sounds like the Worm Queen from Equestrian War mod. Or, in my scenario, Cat Queen. Interesting. I don't think that's purposeful at all, but it's just funny coincidence. The main character in the story was a stereotypical pre-war biker hero in the charcoal trench coat, saving the day by hunting the Monster Queen, Worm Queen, in a climactic final battle. It was all highly unrealistic, of course, but it made for an excellent story, and Keats got a few good laughs out of the crowd when some of the more easily frightened children whimpered and clung close to their parents. When all was said and done, he gave his own opinion on the story, thanked everyone for coming, and promised to see them all next year. Keats stepped down from the stage as the crowd dissolved, noting that quite a few military mutants had joined in for the story halfway through the reading. Then he noticed Crusher was amongst them, which struck him as strange. "I do not mean to be rude," the mayor said as he walked towards the lieutenant, "but why are you here? I never took you for a storytelling type." "I am here to question what might have been," Crusher replied. He slumped against a wall and dropped his unhousting revolver to the ground. "We had made plans to kill you tonight." Keats took a step back and put his hand on his own revolver holster. "And why did you not?" "I suppose I would not have been surprised if you did. It would have worked. Everything was planned, but..." and lowered his head. "I had second thoughts." Keats raised his eyebrow in suspicion, but he took his hand off the revolver. "Your recent policies have demonstrated you are not as weak as we once thought. Perhaps you do have the strength to lead our kind to a glorious future. Perhaps." The rest of the crowd had dispersed at that point, leaving Keats and Crusher alone at an empty plaza. "I will turn myself in to your sheriffs tomorrow," Crusher told the mayor, "and then you may decide what my fate for treason will be. But I should like one more night in a free mutant's bed." Crusher chuckled again and stood up. "I am sorry for this trouble. You will see what the future holds, come what may." Crusher walked away, getting in an armored car parked nearby and driving in the direction of the home in a nearby town, leaving Keats standing stunned by the empty stage. Well then, that could have gone bad. Okay. He just come straight up gonna tell me, yeah, I was gonna kill you tonight. But we're like, dude, he's actually kind of making some sense here. Maybe Maybe we work with this man. Well, thank you. Thank you a lot for not murdering me. That does mean quite a bit to me. The issue of mutant sterility, I can't say the word for some reason, is one of the lesser talked about downsides of becoming a mutant, but is probably the most notable one. Something about the process causes even the most vigorous of humans to become unable to reproduce outright. Males find themselves unable to achieve erections post-transformation, and females often find certain aspects of their uterus to be non-functional. If we want to allow mutants to build legacies for themselves, this essential issue must be addressed. Makes sense, I suppose. But for now, this is gonna take a while. You gotta start working on this. Oh, the Carthaginians are doing something interesting. Well, okay. And the hand warband won, so that brings us down to just me, you, and your puppet. You've lost the Alamo chapter. The hand warband took over them. Looks like it's just us now. Conduct surveys. To start our research, we should host a general poll. What's up? Sure. Can I make it where you don't cost me? No, whatever. Go for it. We'll go ahead and set up more guys to go be trained, though. To start our research, we should host a general poll for the entire super mutant population. The issue of mutant sterility has long been a subject of covert discussion. And while it may cost us a bit of influence to convince every super mutant to drop what they're doing to fill out a questionnaire, the contents of the announcement will surely make up for the annoyance and begin to spread positive rumors about our intent. Woo. Yeah, I think I'm good with just staying at 10 for now. Let's increase this to a main thing. I think I'm also gonna go and change everything to that army for now. I'll probably build some of the other type at some point later, but for now, I think I'm good with that. But I think that's a good time to end this episode. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.